Elizabeth Sabatish-Wolff has come the farthest of the three, and we're very grateful to her for doing so. Elizabeth has been fighting in these trenches for years. Few people probably have had more judicial proceedings in connection with what she said, innocently enough and accurately enough, about Muhammad. And she may wish to give you a little bit of an insight into that, but what is important as much as what she said is the travails that she went through for having done it, because, and I agree with Rahim, as we'll discuss much more in the next panel, these challenges are now present here as well, and the censorship, official or de facto, that Elizabeth can attest to from her experience is very much evidence of not only what is afflicting Europe, but what is coming here. So, Elizabeth Sabatish-Wolff, welcome. Good to have you.
What you just heard should frighten you. It certainly frightens me every single day when I wake up in the morning and I say goodbye to my daughter, see her off to school, and I often wonder, am I going to be seeing her again in the afternoon? Is she going to be okay when she comes home from school? Because we do have about 750 so-called migrants living almost next door to us. I actually have an Iraqi refugee, so-called refugee family living next door to me, right next door to me. We have about 30 underage Afghan and Pakistani youths living across the street from me. So you can probably understand why I am very concerned, very frightened. And another reason I'm very frightened is because we're no longer allowed to speak about all of this. We are being systematically silenced, not just in Austria, but all across Europe. We've heard about what happened in what is currently taking place in the United Kingdom, that it's supposed to be 6 years in prison for criticism of Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the privilege of the First Amendment. You have the privilege of the Bill of Rights. And you have the privilege of a constitution that is understood by 8th graders like me back in 1985. We don't have that. And you need to fight and protect this First Amendment and the entire Constitution, because you know that it's under assault. And if the Democrats ever get in power again, God forbid, that the Constitution will not be protected, because it's a living and breathing document, and we will have to fix it somehow to reflect today's needs. I don't think the Constitution needs any amendments. It's perfect as it is, and we would like to have a First Amendment in Europe. And Geert Wilders and I, unfortunately Geert couldn't be with us here today, but Geert and I are the only ones calling for a First Amendment in Europe, because that is the only thing that's going to protect our freedom of speech. But it's not just freedom of speech. It's also that we are currently looking at a shift in the voters' opinions, that perhaps there is some wind of change in the air, just like you experienced in November of 2016. Austria had an election last fall, and about 58% of these people, including me, voted in a government that is anti-immigration, openly anti-immigration. And I will tell you a few of those steps, I will talk about a few of those steps that perhaps President Trump can emulate in the future as well. So these are anti-immigration policies that are going to be enacted very, very soon. We have two different parties. We have the so-called Conservative Party, and we have the Freedom Party. They call themselves the Freedom Party. The Conservative Party is mildly arch-conservative, arch-establishment, and of course Freedom Party we know is a firebrand, a fiery populist party, which is actually good. Now let me tell you about one part of the coalition agreement that I think is very important for you to know. It's a translation, but I'm quoting verbatim. It says here that Austria guarantees freedom of belief and religion, but fights political Islam. By political Islam, we mean groups and organizations whose ideological foundation is Islam, and which seek to change the basic political and social order by rejecting our constitution and Islamizing society. Political Islam, which can lead to radicalization, anti-Semitism, violence, and terrorism, has no place in our society. This is official government policy right now, and it's a good one too. In addition, the Austrian Conservative Party makes the following demands via its member of parliament, who is a Muslim, but he is not a radical Muslim, and he's a good guy. I know him personally. He demands the following. We insist that Muslims accept Austrian values. We insist on freedom of speech about Islam. We insist on returning rejected asylum seekers to their countries of origin. We want to improve the law, the 2015 law on governing relations with the Islamic religion. Yes, we do have such a law in Austria, which actually got me in trouble. We demand transparency at the government-recognized Islamic faith community and other Islamic institutions, and we want to bring halal commerce under the purview of the Austrian Standards Institute. Halal commerce in Austria is a very big problem. Now, let me tell you about the achievements of our wonderful Minister of Interior in Austria. He's my favorite minister, by the way. He is in the process of government talks, but also negotiating with Parliament on the following points. He wants to amend the asylum and aliens law, and this is not something that's going to happen sometime in the future. This is actually hopefully going to be taking place before the fall even. Number one, cash. All cash, with the exception of 120 euros, which is approximately $150, will be confiscated upon entering Austria. All cell phones and other data will be confiscated to collect geodata of the route taken into Austria. If they entered the country from another Dublin country, Dublin Agreement is an agreement about the asylum seekers. They have to register in the first country of entry into the European Union. Austria is a landlocked country. Austria can never be a country that accepts asylum seekers. So if they entered from a country, from another Dublin country, they must return. So all of our asylum seekers should not be there. They should be back in Italy or Greece or Spain or Portugal. Criminal asylum seekers, following jail time, they have to immediately go to a detention center pending deportation. Remember, this will be law soon. Potentially criminal asylum seekers, hospitals must inform the asylum department upon release from the hospital, so former patients cannot flee. Citizenship for asylum seekers, the waiting period is going to be raised from 6 to 10 years. The above points, again, let me remind you, are currently in parliamentary discussion and are expected to pass very soon. We also are reenacting a dead letter law related to aliens, which is a 2017 law, but was a dead letter law due to the former socialist conservative coalition, which was actually voted out of office in the fall. So the dead letter law will be reactivated, and it will have the following points reactivated. Asylum permit can be revoked if asylum seeker returns to the country of origin for a holiday. We have many Chechens who decide to visit their home country for a nice holiday. Well, they're going to have to go back, because if you go on holiday, you're not really persecuted, right? Rejected asylum seekers lose all benefits except for health benefits. So no more money for them. So hopefully they will go home. And there will be jail time or fines if rejected asylum seekers do not leave the country at the prescribed date. Does this sound good? Yes. I'm pretty excited about this. Huh? You know, this would be great to model, you know, after in other countries, perhaps in Europe, perhaps the Visegrad countries, which are the countries of Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Hungary. And our government is currently slightly leaning towards the Visegrad countries, not as much as what we would like to, but thanks to the Center for Security Policy, my friends and I on the ground in Austria are working to perhaps get more people, more NGOs, more support at the international level so we can have a V4+1. Maybe Austria will join, and who knows, maybe one day Bavaria will join too. Let me just finish up one thing that I started with the free speech. My free speech was taken away from me back in 2009. So I've been in this fight for almost 10 years. I breathe a sigh of relief when I leave Austria to come to the United States, because I am also protected by the First Amendment. What I am saying here is what I cannot say in Austria. I do not speak publicly in Austria because I have no First Amendment. Again, it's the single most important thing. And I don't want to leave you on too much of a positive note, because this government, while doing great things when it comes to immigration, they are currently not tackling the free speech issue. And Europeans are becoming more and more afraid to speak out. They don't even know what free speech is. If I didn't tell my daughter every single day that there is such a thing as free speech, she would be growing up thinking that you must stay silent on certain issues. And that's not what free speech is about. We don't need free speech for Trump's Sunday talks, right? We need speech for that which disturbs and maybe even offends you. That's what free speech is all about. It's not about talking about the weather. But that's what Europeans think free speech is all about. It's about discussing the latest iPhone or the latest iPad or the latest TV or whatever have you. It doesn't matter. We don't need iPads or iPhones. We need our freedom of speech. So with that, thanking Frank very, very much for for all the support that you have given me and our European friends and all of our allies. Thank you, Frank. And we need you another 30 years. And please don't ever stop what you're doing. We love you for it. Okay? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.